What is up, y'all? Welcome on back to another review as I am here to close out my Fantastic Four review series with Fantastic Four First Steps. So I'm not gonna lie, I was never super excited about this movie when Marvel first announced that it was coming out in July. It's just not been one of the things that has been high on my expectation list, mainly because Marvel has just sucked here over the last 5 or 6 years. So, to be completely honest, wasn't excited, and I didn't think that this movie was going to be all that great. I had very low expectations, and then as we've kind of gotten closer to the release date, I was getting a little bit more hyped, and it was mainly because I started watching the old Fantastic Four movies. And throughout that review series, I mean, they're not good movies whatsoever from a technical standpoint, from how well they're made, but they're like so bad that they're good, especially the first two. So after watching those three movies, I kind of got hyped a little bit. I want them to do it right. And hopefully, with this being the first time that we're getting these characters in the MCU, this is going to be Marvel's opportunity to give us a good Fantastic Four movie. And then some of the reviews came out and they're kind of mixed. Some said it was really great. Some of them were like, it's okay. It's not top tier Marvel, but it's just middle of the road. But nonetheless, I went and saw it in theaters, and I am here to give you my thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps. And while I will get into full spoilers throughout this video, just real quick non-spoiler thoughts of Fantastic Four First Steps so that you can decide whether or not you can go see this in theaters. I think this is a good time at the theater. I think this is one of the better Marvel movies that we have gotten over the last several years. So I really did enjoy this, and I enjoyed it more than I did Superman. Superman, I went through that whole movie and I'm like, okay, I mean, I liked it, didn't love it. And it was more so the days after that I really felt like I liked Superman a little bit more than I did initially. This one, guys, I was on board the entire time. The only thing that I will say about this movie that I just flat out despised, and that was the couple sitting next to me that wouldn't shut the fuck up the entire time. They're giggling and laughing, and they're like smooching and laying on top of each other. Like, dude, you just paid $16 for a movie ticket. Like, come on, in this economy? So that was legitimately the worst part of my entire experience and this movie in general when I went to the theaters. I really like this. I think the Fantastic Four characters are perfectly cast. Initially, I wasn't too thrilled about their relationships. It seemed a little bit muted in a way. Their relationships seemed a little bit more bland in comparison to those OG Fantastic Four movies. You know, the ones that I grew up on, they just seemed not as exciting as those. As the movie progressed, I found myself being attached to those characters more and more. And then just nailing this iteration of these characters, the interpretations of the characters, I thought they really nailed. Now, is it a perfect movie? No, it's not. I do think that maybe some of the Galactus stuff is a little bit rushed, and maybe the Silver Surfer stuff is a little bit rushed. But in terms of giving us a villain in a Marvel movie, like Galactus is up there along with Silver Surfer in terms of being like more of the higher tier villains. And I don't mean that in a sense that you go out to this and you're going to see a Thanos level style character where he's well developed and you can kind of feel for his character in a way and you understand where he's coming from. You're not getting that. But in terms of being a memorable character, a memorable villain in the MCU, like this is definitely up there. Now, that's not saying much because we have gotten some shitty villains over the years. But I really liked this interpretation of Galactus. I thought he was very imposing and very intimidating. He created a lot of tension throughout the movie with just the scale and the size of this character that you wonder, how are they going to defeat this guy? He is so fucking huge, shout out. And that's one of the things that I really liked about this movie was the fact that they didn't just find one way to take him out and it works. No, they try all of these different options to take care of Galactus, to defeat him. And they fail and they fail and and it really drives the tension of the movie with the fact that you don't know how they're going to end up defeating Galactus. And then the cinematography is the star of the show. This futuristic 60s look to the movie is so damn good. I can't say enough good things about the cinematography of this movie. I know I talk a lot of shit about Marvel movies. I talk a lot of shit about the humor, and I talk a lot of shit about how they look. Most of the time when I complain about a Marvel movie, those are the two things that I bring up. Marvel movies, MCU movies, whatever, they tend to just look ugly. I'm looking at you, Quantumania. I'm looking at you, Black Widow, the very end, where it's just nothing but a CGI fest. This movie looks fantastic. Now, obviously, there are some moments here or there where the CGI doesn't really hold up. Ben Grimm doesn't look great in some scenes. It definitely looks fake. Kind of takes you out of the movie a little bit. And there's some moments with like some of the powers that they just don't look good. But for the most part, when they're in space, when Galactus is there, when Silver Surfer is there, it looks great. The CGI, the special effects all look fantastic for the most part. Now, that is another thing that I was kind of complaining about in the trailers leading up to this movie was Silver Surfer. Now, all this is, again, no spoilers whatsoever. I'm talking about just the look of Silver Surfer. I thought it looked like doo-doo in the trailers. Silver Surfer looked absolutely horrendous in every single trailer leading up to this movie. And I even made it a point to say to my friends and everybody that was talking about this movie leading up to it that I thought the Silver Surfer from the second Fantastic Four movie just looked so much better than the one that we're getting in this. And I'm also glad to say that it looks a lot better in the context of the movie with Silver Surfer. But watching her in action was really great. And she was actually a part of some really great set pieces as well, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So all of that to say, you should definitely go see this in theaters. This should be a movie that you need to have high on your list to watch as soon as you can, whether that's in theaters, whether it's when it comes out on digital on demand. You need to go check this out for sure. But with all that being said, I need to jump into some spoilers, okay? There's a lot about this movie that I really, really want to talk about. So anything past this point, I will be talking full spoilers, anything and everything about the movie. So if you have not seen Fantastic Four First Steps, this is your opportunity to push pause, come back once you have seen the movie, or if you just don't give a shit, by all means, continue on with the video. I just want to give you this last little warning before I jump into some of the more specific things about the story that I want to kind of get off my chest. All right, so I'm going to start off with the actual characters of the Fantastic Four, and then we'll jump into some other things with the movie. Sue Storm stole the show. I thought Vanessa Kirby did a phenomenal job as Sue Storm. This, to me, is the star of the movie. I just think a lot of what her character brings to the table is just so relatable. And also the performance on top of that was just absolutely, for lack of a better phrase, fantastic. There's a moment in the movie where they have the baby, Franklin, and Galactus is basically saying, give me your child or I will destroy your planet. Reed even brings up the fact that, hey, that's not an option, but it's an option. And Sue is just adamantly against it. But what her character does that I loved so much is the fact that we have Reed and Sue kind of at odds with each other over how they're going to deal with Galactus and how their son Franklin is in the middle of all of that and how they could easily save billions of people by just giving up one person. I love that the movie took a moment to really focus on their relationship as parents while also trying to grapple with the decision of, do we give our child up to this guy or do we stand and fight? And one of my favorite moments of the movie is when she goes out to this huge crowd of people and they're wanting her to give up her son. They're wanting them to basically sacrifice their child to save everybody on Earth. And she goes out there and she gives this huge speech. And it's such a uplifting speech. It's a scene that really makes you love and appreciate her character. And at the end of that speech, she says, I'm not giving my son up for the world, but I'm also not giving up the world for my son. And it's just one of those moments you're like, fuck yeah, bro. Like, let's go. So to me, that little monologue scene, one of the highlights of the movie. And it didn't require any action, CGI, nothing. And it was such a big pivotal scene right before the climax of the movie. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. I thought he did great. This dude looks like he just has the weight of the world on his shoulders the entire runtime. He is always trying to search for possibilities or scenarios in how he can solve things. The worst case scenario, but also the best case scenarios in every single situation. So that's kind of what I was referring to when I said he didn't believe that this was an option to give up their child, but in the end, it's still an option. And it's one that they not necessarily consider, but it's just one of many possibilities on how to stop Galactus and save this world. So I thought they did a good job of really differentiating this Reed Richards from the ones in the other movies. He definitely looks like he just has the weight of the world on his shoulders. He feels like at any moment this dude can break down in anxiety and just completely be crushed by the world and his decision making. But they continue to show throughout the movie how he is one of the smartest, if not the smartest character in the MCU right now. He's always figuring out possibilities, and I think they do it better here than they did in those other movies. Like, after watching this one and kind of thinking back on those other movies, you think to yourself, wow, the Reed Richards in those movies, he's kind of stupid in comparison to this one. I thought they did a good job of showcasing his intelligence throughout this movie. Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, Human Torch, I thought he did a good job. I kind of wish there was more of him in this movie, but that's mainly because what we got was really great. Yeah, he's not some bonehead, stupid character, kind of what like Chris Evans portrayed him as in those movies. You know, he's actually intelligent, and he actually figured out the language to Silver Surfer on his own. And that just goes to show that he's not some brain dead idiot who chases after women. He actually has a little bit of intelligence to go along with it. You know, he's one of the smarter minds in this world. And I really loved his relationship with Ben Grimm. You know, in the other movies, it's more of Johnny just ripping on Ben Grimm the entire runtime and him just making a joke of Ben Grimm. This one seems more along the lines of them being brothers. Yeah, they care for each other. Yeah, they kind of play around with each other a little bit with jokes. But for the most part, they act like brothers. And the performances for Johnny and Ben Grimm in this movie were just absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I think that it took me a little while to get used to them and how they were a lot different than the iterations of those characters that we got in those first two Fantastic Four movies. But I really enjoyed the fact that these characters act like a family. They care for each other, and I thought they interacted well with each other. I wanted more of those relationships, of those characters just interacting. I'm willing to say that I kind of wish there was a sitcom show of just the Fantastic Four interacting with each other. Like, I would definitely be down for a Full House style series of the Fantastic Four. Disney, if you're listening, make a Disney Plus show of that, okay? I don't even necessarily need action, but you could definitely do it as like a Saturday morning cartoon style series. Honestly, I wouldn't even care that it's animated. Do it like that, have them voice those characters, have those interactions, throw in like a little bit of a monster of the week thing for those episodes. And I think that'd be dope because I am definitely on board with these iterations of these characters and their relationships and their interactions with each other. And while I'm on the subject of Johnny and Ben, I really enjoyed the moment where, and they did a good job of really setting this joke up throughout the movie, that it really paid off at the very end. The whole clobbering time aspect of the thing, where in the movie, Ben Grimm repeatedly says, "That's in the cartoon. That's not a real thing that I say." And everybody's trying to get him to say it's clobbering time. Well, when it's them versus Galactus, you see it in the trailers where Ben is being flown by Johnny and he's trying to get him to say it's clobbering time. And he refuses to say it until the very last second. He's like, fuck it, it's clobbering time. And then they just nail Galactus with this one last push. And that was a really great moment. I think that moment was paid off by setting that up multiple times throughout the movie, and it just completely worked for me. Galactus was great. I thought he was very imposing, very intimidating. The special effects look really damn good. Ralph Ineson is the voice actor for Galactus, and of course, the dude nailed it. The dude is one of my favorite actors, period, right now. And I thought he did a great job as Galactus. Silver Surfer, I felt like I needed more from this character in this movie. There's a portion of the movie towards the end where Silver Surfer's not even there. Galactus is on Earth and Silver Surfer is nowhere to be found. Well, if Galactus is strolling around in the city, you would think that Silver Surfer is somewhere around, either helping him or doing something, right? She comes in for like 5 seconds to save the day and pushes him into the transporter to transport him somewhere else in the universe. And that to me felt a little bit of a cop out. Like, I definitely think Silver Surfer should have played more of a part at the very end of this movie than what she actually did. But the moments that we got with Silver Surfer were great. The scenes where she's flying in that wormhole with the Fantastic Four trying to escape her and Galactus, the special effects looked great, but I thought that that scene and sequence in particular had a lot of tension involved because you don't know what the hell is going to happen. All you know is Galactus wants their child. Sue is having the baby while in this wormhole, and it's just like crazy with the tension there that I really enjoyed it because you didn't know what was going to happen in this scene. And that leads me to some of my final thoughts on the movie. I think this is one of the most comic booky MCU movies that we have gotten to date. It felt like a Saturday morning cartoon. A lot of the times there are moments where it doesn't take itself seriously, but there are also other moments where it does take itself super serious and it works. I think in terms of humor, silliness, while also being a little bit serious, I think this movie nails the tone that I really want and I hope that every MCU movie has. I thought the humor, while not all of it hit, most of it did for me. I didn't think a lot of these jokes were forced, like most Marvel movies. So I really enjoyed the humor aspect of this, and that's usually one of my biggest complaints going into these movies, and that the stories are just kind of bland. The story here, for the most part, it's a lot of it is a rehash of the Rise of the Silver Surfer movie for sure. But I think there's enough here that is different from that movie that it's not going to feel like you're watching the same movie twice. So yes, one of the most comic booky movies of the MCU for sure. The action, while there's not a ton of it, what's there is great. The third act with the action and especially the climax, I think it could have been better. But you know what? One of my complaints that I have with just about every single MCU movie is that it's just a CGI fest at the very end, and most of the time I just don't give a shit about the ending. They really fail with nailing the endings of a majority of these MCU movies, and I thought this one did kind of the best of both worlds. It kind of gave us some action, but it gave us a lot of heart. And the fact that they made you care for these characters, they gave you some pivotal moments with a lot of tension at the very end of this movie that I didn't really need all the action. I was great with just seeing these characters on screen and them being put in this world-ending scenario and them trying to figure out how to get out of it with their minds and them just trying to fight for each other as a family. I just really enjoyed all that I didn't need a super heavy action movie. So I know that's a complaint of a lot of people that it didn't have a ton of action in it. Personally, I'm a fan of it. I didn't need all the action anyways. I thought it worked well for this movie. And that leads me to my final thought, which is the runtime, the pacing. For the most part, these Fantastic Four movies are under 2 hours. I think the first two are right at an hour and a half. This is just under 2 hours. And I really wish that this movie was probably about 10, 15 minutes longer. I could have used a few more scenes to flesh out these characters a little bit more, especially Galactus and Silver Surfer. I think a little bit more runtime devoted to them could have fleshed out those characters a little bit more. But honestly, I just want more from Sue, Johnny, Reed, and Ben, just them interacting with each other. You know, I would have been okay with another scene or two of them just chillaxing at the Baxter Building and just being a family. But for what we got, I thought they did a great job of keeping this under 2 hours, giving us enough with these characters, with these villains, fleshing out this world in a meaningful way that, yeah, I want more of it because it was that good. So Overall, I really did love this movie. I can't wait to watch it again because a lot of the exposition at the very beginning, where it shows you like how they got their powers and stuff like that, I missed a lot of that because of the fucking stupid ass couple next to me talking all the damn time. So a lot of the talking scenes I need to rewatch, mostly because of that. But overall, guys, I thought it was a great movie. I definitely recommend going and checking it out in theaters if that's a possibility for you. But if you have seen the Fantastic Four First Steps, let me know down below what you thought about the movie. Is it Marvel returning back to form? Honestly, I think this is the best Marvel movie that we have gotten in years, and that's including Deadpool and Wolverine. I think this one obviously is a lot different than what that movie was trying to do, but in terms of story, characters, ABCD, all the above, I think this one is way better than Deadpool and Wolverine. That one was just trying to make you laugh the entire time. It had a shitty ass story. It really thrived on nostalgia and fan service, whereas this one really hit home with the characters, the action, the cinematography for sure. Like that is the highlight of the movie was the cinematography. That shit looked amazing. I didn't know that that's what I wanted in a Marvel MCU superhero movie until they did it. But yeah, guys, let me know down in the comments below what you thought about First Steps. And with that being said, that's going to be it for me. And I will catch y'all next time on another one. Laters.